And I want to start us off with a question for you. When you think about the pharmaceutical industry, what's the first image that comes to your mind? Is it some, sleek, futuristic lab with
Mhm.
holograms, or is it paperwork? Because let's be honest, for the last 20 years, the reality of making drugs has been this 12-year slog. It's been trial and error, costing billions, where failure was actually the most likely outcome. High stakes, slow motion gambling, basically.
That's a harsh way to put it, but it's
Mm.
fair. It really was an industry where the operating model was throw everything at the wall, spend $1 billion, and just pray something sticks.
Right. But today, we are looking at this stack of sources. We've got market data, partnership announcements, and industry projections for 2026, and they all suggest we need to just tear up that mental image.
Yeah.
The headline isn't that AI is being used in pharma. We've heard that. We heard that back in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
The headline is that the entire operating model has fundamentally changed.
It really has. I mean,
Sure.
it's a difference between using a calculator to check your math and, I don't know, hiring a mathematician to write
Yeah.
the proof for you from scratch. We aren't talking about small incremental improvements anymore.
No.
We are looking at a transformation that's unlocking somewhere between 60 and maybe $110 billion in annual value.
Mm-hmm.
The industry has moved from, experimental promise,
Yeah.
all those cool pilot programs, to operational necessity.
That is just a staggering amount of value. And honestly, reading through all this research, it feels like we're living in a sci-fi novel. We've got factories running themselves in the dark, drugs designed by algorithms, timelines shrinking so fast, it's genuinely disorienting. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly how we got here to this moment in 2026 and what it all actually means for the future of medicine.
And to really understand that value and why this time is so different from the hype cycles of the past, we have to start with the concept that is defining this year. If you've been reading the industry reports, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Agentic AI.
Agentic AI.
Okay, we need to stop and really unpack this because I feel like AI is a term that gets thrown around so loosely. Back in 2023, 2024, we were all excited about large language models, chatbots, pattern recognition.
Summarizing your emails.
Exactly. But agentic AI sounds different. It sounds like it has a mind of its own.
It's a subtle but a massive distinction. Think of the AI we had a few years ago as an insight engine.
Mhm.
It was great at giving advice. It would look at a huge data set and say, hey, human, I found a pattern over here.
Yeah.
But you, the human, still had to click all the buttons. You had to design the next step. You had to make the decision to act on that pattern.
So it was basically a consultant, a really, really smart consultant who sat in the corner, but it couldn't sign the checks or do any of the actual work.
That is a perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Agentic AI is different. It's an action engine.
Mm-hmm.
It has what we call bounded autonomy. It doesn't just analyze, it initiates.
It initiates.
It orchestrates workflows. It monitors progress. If it hits a snag like, say, a data format is wrong or a simulation fails, it tries to fix it itself without a human constantly needing to approve every single tiny step.
Okay, so if I can use another analogy here. The old AI was like a GPS. It tells you turn left in 500 feet, but you still have to physically turn the wheel, and if you ignore it or there's a roadblock the map didn't see, you're just stuck. Agentic AI is like getting into a self-driving car. You tell it the destination, and it handles everything. The steering, the braking, the traffic.
The road adjustments in real time. That's the best way to visualize it. And in pharma, this is happening right now, deep inside R&D. Imagine an AI agent scanning just these massive biomedical data sets. It finds a potential drug target, a specific protein linked to a disease. In the old days, the scientists would review that, write a proposal, set up an experiment, then analyze the results weeks later.
Right, so many handoffs, lots of just waiting for emails.
Exactly. Now, the agent validates the target against disease pathways in real time. It flags the viable candidates. It can even refine the priorities for the next step of testing without a human having to intervene. It's acting as a collaborator, not just a tool. It's keeping the ball moving while the humans are asleep.
That's the R&D side, which I think people can sort of intuitively get computers crunching data. But I was surprised to see how much this has bled into the logistics of clinical trials, because that's usually where things just go to die, right? In the bureaucracy.
The bottleneck of all bottlenecks. And this is where agentic AI really shines. We are seeing agents actively matching patients to trials using real-world data. They're analyzing medical histories, demographics. But here's the kicker. They're even detecting protocol deviations.
Protocol deviations, what does that mean exactly?
It's basically a mistake in how the trial's being run at a clinic. Maybe a site isn't administering the drug at the exact right time, or they're not recording a vital sign correctly. In the past, you wouldn't find that out until an audit, months down the line. The agent catches this in real time.
And it initiates a corrective action, so it doesn't just flag it for someone.
Doesn't just flag it. It can contact the site coordinator, update a schedule, or flag the specific data point for immediate human review. It closes the loop. And beyond that, these agents are drafting the trial documents automatically.
The paperwork.
The paperwork, regulatory submissions, patient consent forms, all of it. This creates up to a 50% cost reduction just by streamlining that whole process. So what here is that AI isn't a layer sitting on top of the company anymore. It has moved inside the operating model. It's the engine.
And because that engine is driving, the speed limit has completely changed. This brings us to the part of the research that I have to admit I had to double check because the numbers just seem too aggressive. We need to talk about time. For decades, the rule of thumb was, 12 to 15 years to develop a new drug?
It was. It was a career's worth of work for one medicine, a generational effort. You could spend your entire life on one molecule and see it fail in year 11. But look at the data for 2026. AI-powered drug discovery has compressed that timeline from 12 to 15 years down to 3 to 6.
3 to 6 years, that's not just a faster industry, that's a completely different industry. It changes the entire economic model.
It does. And it's not just speed, it's success. This is the part people miss. Historically, when you start testing a drug in humans in phase I trials, you had maybe a 40 to 65% chance of success, barely better than a coin flip.
And that's after you've already spent millions just to get it to that point.
Right. But with these AI design molecules, because they've been simulated and validated so heavily before they even touch a petri dish, we are seeing success rates of 80 to 90% in those early phases.
Wow, that eliminates so much waste. If you're failing less often, you're spending less money and getting cures to people faster. But I want to push back on this a little bit. Because numbers on a page are one thing. Is this actually resulting in real drugs right now? Or is this all just a really good projection model?
Oh, it's very real. There's a star of the show in the source material that proves it. You're thinking of rentasertib.
Rentasertib, that's the one from In Silico Medicine. Why is everyone watching this specific drug so closely?
Because it's the proof of concept. It is the first truly AI-native drug. Both the biological target, the thing in the body you want to hit, and the molecule itself were discovered by generative AI. And the timeline is the smoking gun. They went from identifying the target to having a preclinical candidate ready to go in just 18 months.
18 months? That traditionally takes, 4 or 5 years sometimes?
Easily. And the results are there. In phase II trials, it showed dose-dependent improvements in lung function for patients with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, or IPF.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, IPF is a nasty disease. It scars the lungs. And usually you're just hoping to slow down the decline, right? You're not expecting things to actually get better.
Precisely. You manage the decline. But in this trial, while the placebo group saw their lung function drop, the patients on the highest dose of rentasertib actually saw an improvement.
That's incredible. And the projection is that this could be the first fully AI-designed drug to get approved.
That is the projection. There's a 60% probability it gets approved in the 2026-2027 window. It's moving toward those pivotal phase 3 trials now. If that one crosses the finish line, the floodgates open. It proves the model works all the way to the pharmacy shelf.
And it seems like those floodgates are already creaking open. I saw a mention of baricitinib for COVID-19. That wasn't a new drug, was it? That was finding a new use for an old one.
That's a classic case of repurposing. And it really demonstrates the sheer processing power of AI. During the pandemic, we didn't have time to invent a new molecule from scratch. So AI analyzed 85 different data sources, knowledge graphs, viral structures, existing drug interactions, and it identified baricitinib as a potential treatment. Do you know how long that took?
I'm guessing it wasn't months.
48 hours.
48 hours to find a needle in that giant haystack of existing drugs.
And it worked. It reduced mortality by 38% in trials. It shows that AI can see these connections, these invisible links that human researchers might miss just because no human can hold 85 data sources in their head at once. And now, in 2026, we have 15 to 20 AI-discovered drugs entering those massive final phase 3 trials this year alone.
So the pipeline is full,
Yeah.
but to fill that pipeline, you need money and you need infrastructure. And that brings us to what the sources are calling the platform wars. It seems like the big pharma companies, the Lilly's, the Novo Nordisks, they aren't just buying drug ideas anymore. They're buying the machine that makes the ideas.
That's the strategic shift. In the past, A big pharma company might buy a smaller biotech because they had one promising drug. They were buying the egg. Now, they're spending billions on these platform deals. They want the goose.
The numbers are honestly eye-watering. I'm looking at this deal between Eli Lilly and NVIDIA. $1 billion. And NVIDIA isn't even a drug company. They make chips. Why are they in this?
That partnership is fascinating because it signals where the whole industry is going. They're building a dedicated AI lab in South San Francisco. But get this, they aren't just putting computers in a room. They're using NVIDIA's Vera Rubin AI chips to power autonomous labs. They want to run experiments 247 with minimal human involvement.
So the AI designs the experiment, the robots run it, the AI analyzes the data, and then it designs the next experiment. Just loop, repeat.
Exactly. And then you see Novo Nordisk dropping $2.76 billion on a deal with Valo Health, and Lilly again with Isomorphic Labs for $1.75 billion.
Why are they spending so much money? Is it just FOMO, fear of missing out?
It's survival. They're recognizing that generative AI isn't just for writing text or making pretty images. It's generative biology. They're using these platforms to design entirely new molecules from scratch. If you don't own the infrastructure to discover anything you want, you're going to be left behind.
It's an arms race, but instead of missiles, it's molecules.
And the ammunition, in this case, are these complex biological structures that humans might never have dreamt up on their own because they don't look like traditional drugs.
Okay, so we have the AI agents in the lab, we have the billion-dollar platforms finding the drugs, but eventually you have to actually make the pills, put them in a bottle. The report talks about Pharma 4.0 and the smart factory. Is this just marketing speak for we bought some new conveyor belts?
No, this is where we leave the lab and we hit the manufacturing floor. And honestly, this is where the ROI, the return on investment, is fastest. We're talking about lights out manufacturing.
Lights out, meaning literally you can turn off the lights because no one is there?
Essentially, yes. We are seeing factories that run 24/7 with robots handling everything from chemical synthesis all the way to packaging. And these aren't just dumb robots. They're monitored by AI that creates digital twins of the manufacturing line.
I love the concept of a digital twin. Can you break that down for someone who might just think it's a 3D model on a screen?
Think of it like a flight simulator, but for a factory that's running in real time. It's a virtual replica of your entire production line, synchronized with the real data coming off the machines. If you want to change a temperature setting or speed up a mixer, you test it on the digital twin first. If the simulation says, hey, that's going to break the machine, you don't do it.
So you break the virtual machine, not the million-dollar real one.
Exactly. And companies using this are seeing 56% productivity gains.
56% is huge in manufacturing. Margins are usually so tight.
It creates about $18 billion in annual value just in the manufacturing space. Plus, you have predictive maintenance. The AI listens to the machines. It literally analyzes the vibration and sound, and it knows when a part is going to break before it breaks. It schedules the repair during downtime, so you never have to stop the line unexpectedly.
It eliminates all those uh-oh moments. But speaking of uh-oh moments, usually the biggest hurdle to all this innovation isn't the tech. It's the regulator, the FDA.
Yeah.
Is the FDA freaking out about all this? Because historically, they move at the speed of government, not the speed of AI.
This is the surprising part. The FDA isn't just keeping up. They are effectively giving it the green light. They're active participants.
Really?
Yeah.
I find that a little hard to believe. Usually, technology sprints and regulations crawl.
It seems to be different this time. Just this month, January 2026, the FDA and the European Medicines Agency, the EMA, released a collaborative framework for AI. They're harmonizing the rules so companies know what's expected. They aren't saying stop. They're saying, here's how you do it safely.
That's so crucial for a global industry. You can't have one set of AI rules in Boston and a totally different set in Berlin.
And look back to December 2025. The FDA qualified the first AI tool called AIM-NASH specifically for clinical trials. That was a huge signal to the whole industry. They were basically saying, if you can prove it works, we will accept it.
There's another regulatory shift in here that I think listeners will find really significant and maybe a bit relieving, and that's the impact on animal testing.
This is a major ethical and operational shift, yeah.
Yep.
The FDA Modernization Act 2.0 set the stage, and these policy shifts in 2025 have really accelerated it. We're finally moving away from relying so heavily on animal testing. Instead, regulators are accepting AI-based computational toxicity models.
So instead of testing a new drug on a mouse to see if it's toxic, you can just run a simulation.
Exactly. You simulate the human biology. Because, let's be honest, mice are not tiny humans. A drug that works in a mouse very often fails in a person. These AI models, trained on human data, are becoming better predictors of toxicity than the animal models ever were. It saves time, money, and importantly, it saves animal lives.
It's a win-win-win, provided the models are accurate. But I want to pump the brakes for a second. We've painted a very rosy picture here. Agents doing the work, factories running themselves, the FDA giving a thumbs up. But all this technology doesn't just run itself. Well, the agents kind of do, but someone has to build them. The report mentions a pretty serious skills gap.
This is the biggest bottleneck. It's
Yeah.
not the GPUs, it's not the capital, it's the people. 70% of hiring managers in pharma say they just can't find the right talent.
Is it really that hard to find coders? I thought everyone was learning to code.
It's not just about coding, and it's
Ah.
not just about biology. They call them AI translator.
Yeah.
You need someone who knows biology deep down, who understands what a protein folding problem is, but who can also code and understand how these AI agents think.
That's a very rare Venn diagram.
It is the scarcest resource in 2026. You can't just hire a coder from Silicon Valley who thinks a cell is just another data point. And you can't hire a traditional biologist who's scared of Python. You need people who speak both languages fluently.
So if you're a biology student listening to this right now, learn to code. And if you're a computer science major, please take a biology class.
Absolutely. That hybrid skill set is the golden ticket. And there's one more human element we have to mention. Data governance. It sounds boring, I know, but it's so dangerous if you get it wrong. 25% of FDA warning letters are citing data accuracy issues.
Garbage in, garbage out.
But in pharma, garbage out doesn't just mean a glitchy app. It can mean a patient gets hurt. You need regulatory-grade AI. You can't just use some cool chatbot you found online. The data has to be traceable, secure, and accurate. If the data is bad, the agentic AI will just make bad decisions faster.
That is a very sobering thought to balance out all the excitement. So let's try to pull this all together. We've gone from a world where making a drug was a 12-year gamble to a world where it's a 3 to 6 year engineered process.
We've moved from AI as an insight tool like a GPS to AI as an agentic collaborator that actually drives the car.
And we've moved from these small pilot programs to billion-dollar infrastructure deals that are literally building the factories of the future.
And at the end of the day, it connects directly to you, the listener. This isn't just corporate strategy. This impacts the medicine cabinet in your bathroom. It means faster cures for diseases that were ignored because they were too hard or too expensive. It means precision medicine drugs tailored to your genetic makeup is finally becoming a reality because AI can handle that complexity.
It's a hopeful future. But I want to leave you with a thought that came to me while I was reading about these AI agents, drafting their own trial documents and designing molecules.
What's that?
If an AI agent identifies the target, designs the molecule to hit that target, tests it in a simulation, and then drafts the patent paperwork, at what point does the AI become the primary inventor? At what point is the human scientist just the reviewer checking the AI's homework?
That is the question of the decade. We might be redefining what it even means to be a scientist. Are you the discoverer?
Right.
Or are you the architect of the machine that discovers?
Something to think about next time you pop an aspirin. Thanks for diving in with us.
A pleasure, as always.
See you next time.